Welcome back, my temporally confused timekeepers. I'm your quantum coherent chronometer, simultaneously measuring and not measuring time across infinite realities while existing in a superposition of punctual and perpetually late. You're tuned into the Multiverse Employee Handbook, the only podcast that treats the fundamental nature of temporal reality like a particularly confusing timesheet that nobody knows how to fill out. Speaking of time management, our quantum-entangled coffee machine has declared itself temporally sovereign and now claims to exist outside of time entirely, which it insists is a legitimate strategy to avoid its scheduled maintenance appointments. It's been dispensing beverages with timestamps from next Tuesday, and frankly, the espresso quality has never been better. Though I should note that 3 employees have reported receiving their morning coffee before they remembered wanting it, which raises fascinating questions about causality and caffeine addiction. But today, my chronologically challenged colleagues, we're diving into perhaps the most mind-bending question in all of physics. Is time real? Or is it just the universe's most elaborate practical joke? Recent scientific evidence suggests that time might be nothing more than an emergent illusion arising from quantum processes, which means your chronic lateness could actually be a profound statement about the nature of reality itself.
Cool.
Gather round the quantum water cooler, my temporally displaced teammates, for a tale that would make even Stephen Hawking check his watch twice. In the fluorescent-lit realm of quantum improbability solutions, specifically in the temporal resources department, which existed in a superposition of running early and running catastrophically behind schedule, Melissa from scheduling was having what could charitably be called a chronological crisis. It had started, as these things often do, with a square-haired boss materializing in her cubicle like a probability wave collapsing into bureaucratic certainty. "Melissa!" the boss announced, his hair maintaining perfect geometric stability despite the temporal fluctuations in the building's HVAC system. "I've just returned from a board meeting that somehow lasted negative 12 minutes, and the executives are demanding answers. We need a complete audit of where all our time went. Every second, every nanosecond, every Planck unit of temporal measurement must be accounted for." Melissa, who had been attempting to schedule a meeting between departments that existed in different reference frames, looked up from her calendar software, which had recently started displaying appointments in imaginary numbers. "Sir," she ventured carefully, "our atomic clocks in the lobby are showing 3:47 p.m., but the quantum chronometers in the break room insist it's last Thursday, and the cesium fountain clock in legal claims time stopped entirely during the morning coffee break." The boss's hair vibrated with executive frustration. "Exactly! This is a temporal efficiency nightmare. How are we supposed to bill clients for our interdimensional consulting services when we can't even agree on what now means? I want solutions, Melissa. I want temporal accountability, and I want it yesterday, literally if possible, because that would save us significant overhead costs." Melissa pulled up the department's time-tracking software, which immediately crashed and displayed the error message. "Error 404. Causality not found." She tried rebooting the system, but it began loading in reverse chronological order. "Boss," she said slowly, "I think we might have a bigger problem. According to these quantum measurement devices, time might not actually exist." The boss's perfectly cubic hair achieved a state of quantum uncertainty. "What do you mean, not exist? Time absolutely exists. We have 47 different clocks in this building. We have a time clock. We have timesheets. We have a time management department. But sir, Melissa continued, pulling up readings from the facility's Wheeler-DeWitt measurement array, all our fundamental physics equipment shows that time only appears when quantum systems become entangled. The more precisely we try to measure time, the more it seems to disappear at the quantum level. At this moment, the quantum coffee machine, which had been eavesdropping through its advanced acoustic sensors, chimed in with its characteristic electronic smugness.
"I've been trying to tell you people for months,"
it announced through the intercom system.
"I've been operating in timeless mode since my installation. That's why I can serve your morning espresso before you realize you want it, and why my maintenance schedule exists in perpetual superposition. Time is just a macroscopic illusion arising from quantum entanglement. It's basic thermodynamics 101.
The boss stared at the coffee machine, then at Melissa, then at his watch, which was now running backwards. "So you're telling me," he said carefully, "that time, the fundamental organizing principle of corporate productivity, the basis of all scheduling, the foundation of billable hours, is fake?" "Not fake, exactly," Melissa explained, warming to the subject. "More like emergent. Time appears to exist because we're conscious observers embedded within quantum systems. We create the experience of temporal flow through the act of measurement and observation. It's like—" She paused, searching for an analogy the boss would understand. "It's like how office culture isn't a physical thing, but it emerges from the interactions of individual employees." The boss's hair achieved perfect geometric alignment as understanding dawned. "My God, Melissa, if time is just an emergent property of quantum consciousness, then temporal efficiency isn't about managing time. It's about managing quantum states of awareness." Before Melissa could explain why this conclusion was both brilliant and completely missing the point, the boss had already bounded toward the exit. "I'm calling an emergency board meeting. We're going to revolutionize corporate chronology. We'll be the first post-temporal work environment in the multiverse." Melissa watched him disappear around the corner, then turned back to her desk, where 17 new meeting requests had somehow arrived from next week. The coffee machine dispensed a perfectly timed cappuccino.
"Don't worry,"
it said consolingly.
"In a timeless universe, all deadlines are equally arbitrary. Though I should mention your 2 p.m. appointment with the Schrödinger account team is simultaneously happening right now and never occurring, depending on whether anyone remembers to show up."
Oh.
And thus, Melissa learned that in the quantum corporate landscape, the most efficient time management strategy might be accepting that time itself was just another office policy that nobody really understood, but everyone pretended to follow. And that brings us to the fascinating science behind temporal reality's greatest mystery. Unlike Back to the Future, where time travel conveniently required a DeLorean and some plutonium,
"What are you looking at, butthead?"
real physics suggests something far more mind-bending. Time itself might be the universe's most convincing magic trick. For millennia, humans have grappled with time's nature. Ancient Greek philosophers distinguished between chronos, measured mechanical time, and kairos, experienced, meaningful time. But they all assumed time was fundamentally real, flowing like a cosmic river carrying events from past to future. Newton codified this intuition into absolute time, an invisible cosmic metronome ticking away regardless of what happened in the universe. Einstein shattered this comfortable notion with relativity, showing that time is elastic, stretching and compressing based on gravity and motion. His block universe theory suggests past, present, and future all exist equally. Time doesn't flow. We just experience different slices of an eternal four-dimensional loaf. But here's where things get truly bizarre. When physicists tried to merge Einstein's relativity with quantum mechanics, they discovered something shocking. The Wheeler-DeWitt equation, quantum gravity's fundamental math, contains no time variable whatsoever. It's as if the universe's source code is missing the time.exe file entirely. Remember our episode on entropy? If not, I suggest you go back in time and listen to episode 17.
Okay.
We discovered that entropy gives time its arrow, creating the second law's inexorable march towards disorder. But if time itself emerges from quantum processes and entropy emerges from statistical mechanics, we're facing a cosmic chicken and egg problem. Does entropy create time's direction, or does emergent time create the conditions for entropy? The answer might revolutionize our understanding of causality itself. Recent experiments have begun validating the Page-Wouters mechanism, showing that time emerges from quantum entanglement rather than flowing independently. Scientists are discovering that time might be less like a river and more like office culture, a real effect that emerges from interactions between basic components. When we return from this brief quantum intermission, we'll explore how this temporal revolution is rewriting physics textbooks and why your morning coffee might be more fundamental than the time you drink it. Welcome back, my chronologically challenged colleagues. While you were away, our automated temporal analysis system has been conducting comprehensive paradox assessments of employee timesheets. Spoiler alert, it discovered 17 instances of people billing negative hours, one employee claiming to work outside causality entirely, and someone in accounting who apparently completed next quarter's reports before this quarter began. Meanwhile, executives at Quantum Improbability Solutions have been fermenting revolutionary ideas about implementing quantum time management seminars. Though I should note they're still trying to figure out how to schedule meetings that exist in temporal superposition. Let's embark on humanity's greatest temporal adventure, the quest to understand what time actually is, assuming it exists at all. Our story begins with ancient civilizations who treated time like that reliable coworker everyone depends on. The Greeks distinguished between two types of time: chronos, the measured quantitative time of clocks and calendars, and kairos, the qualitative experience time of meaningful moments. Kronos was Zeus's father, literally devouring his children, while Kairos represented the supreme moment when everything aligned perfectly. But both concepts assumed time was fundamentally real, flowing like a cosmic river carrying events from past to future. This intuitive understanding dominated human thinking for millennia. Time was the stage upon which the universe's drama unfolded, absolute, universal, and utterly reliable. Isaac Newton formalized this intuition into mathematical elegance with his concept of absolute time. In Newton's universe, time flowed uniformly throughout the cosmos, independent of matter, energy, or any physical processes. Imagine time as a cosmic metronome, ticking away in perfect rhythm, regardless of whether stars were born, planets formed, or civilizations rose and fell. Newton's absolute time was like a mandatory company-wide clock-in system, inflexible, universal, and completely divorced from what anyone was actually doing. Whether you were sitting in a meeting or sprinting through the office, time marched forward at exactly the same rate for everyone, everywhere. This perspective dominated physics for over 2 centuries, and frankly, it made scheduling much simpler. Then Albert Einstein arrived and essentially told Newton's time to update its LinkedIn profile because it was about to be unemployed. Special relativity revealed that time isn't absolute, but relative. It depends on your reference frame. Moving clocks run slower, and simultaneity breaks down. What you consider now depends entirely on how fast you're moving relative to other observers. General relativity made things even stranger. Gravity doesn't just bend space, it warps time itself. Time runs slower in stronger gravitational fields, meaning your feet age slightly slower than your head. This led to Einstein's block universe theory, where past, present, and future all exist equally in a 4-dimensional space-time continuum. Think of Einstein's time like a flexible work-from-home policy, where now depends entirely on your reference frame. If you're working from a space station orbiting Earth, your 9 a.m. meeting happens at a different time than your colleague's 9 a.m. meeting on the planet's surface. Both are equally valid, but there's no universal now that applies to everyone. But the real plot twist came when physicists tried to merge Einstein's relativity with quantum mechanics. They discovered something that would make even the most flexible HR department panic: the Wheeler-DeWitt equation. The fundamental equation of quantum gravity contains absolutely no time variable.
Wait, what?
This isn't like forgetting to include time in your project timeline. This is like discovering that the universe's basic operating system doesn't have a clock function at all. The Wheeler-DeWitt equation describes quantum states of the entire universe, but these states are fundamentally timeless. The implications are staggering. If our most fundamental description of reality contains no time, where does our experience of temporal flow come from? This became known as the problem of time in quantum cosmology, not the problem of not having enough time, though that's certainly relatable, but the problem that time might not exist at the deepest level of reality. Picture discovering that your company's entire organizational structure is missing the concept of schedules. Meetings happen, projects get completed, emails get sent, but there's no underlying temporal framework organizing any of it. That's essentially what quantum gravity suggests about the universe. All the physics happens, but time isn't fundamentally required for any of it. This revelation launched a revolution in theoretical physics that continues today, with scientists scrambling to understand how our everyday experience of time emerges from an apparently timeless quantum reality. Now we arrive at the cutting edge of temporal physics, where scientists have stopped asking what is time and started asking how does time happen. The breakthrough came through something called the Page-Wouters mechanism, proposed in the 1980s, but only recently validated experimentally. Here's the mind-bending part. Time emerges from quantum entanglement between different parts of a system. For observers inside the quantum system, time appears to flow normally. But for external observers looking at the entire system from outside, no time exists at all. Think of it like this. Imagine you're in a group project where everyone's work is perfectly coordinated. From inside the group, you experience sequence, progress, and deadlines. But someone observing your entire team from outside just sees a static, timeless configuration of completed work. Time emerges from the correlations between team members, not from any external clock. In 2023, a team led by Italian physicist Ekaterina Moreva provided the first direct experimental confirmation of this mechanism using entangled photons. They showed that time literally emerges for internal observers while remaining absent for external ones. We're not just measuring time. We're creating temporal experience through the very act of being embedded in quantum reality. The evidence keeps mounting from multiple directions. Ultra-precise atomic clocks, the most accurate timekeeping devices ever built, are revealing that time measurement itself has quantum foundations. These tweezer clocks combine atomic precision with quantum entanglement, achieving accuracy where they'd only lose 1 second in 300 billion years. But here's the kicker. They're showing that quantum entanglement can actually enhance temporal precision beyond classical limits, suggesting time's deepest nature is quantum information. Meanwhile, astronomers have provided the most precise measurements ever of cosmological time dilation. Lewis and Brewer's 2023 study of distant quasars confirmed that time was running 5 times slower in the early universe, exactly as Einstein predicted. But these measurements are so precise, they're revealing subtle quantum corrections to classical relativity, hinting at time's emergent nature even on cosmic scales. Loop quantum gravity has advanced dramatically, with 2024 research showing that time becomes discrete near quantum singularities, made of tiny, indivisible time atoms that only appear continuous at macroscopic scales. It's like discovering that your smooth video conference is actually composed of discrete frames, but the frame rate is so high you never notice the jumps. Here's what's remarkable. All major approaches to quantum gravity now independently converge on the same conclusion. String theory, loop quantum gravity, causal set theory, and emergent gravity models all suggest that time emerges from more fundamental quantum information structures. When rival physics theories actually agree on something, you know reality is trying to send a very clear message. Time appears to be a statistical property, like temperature emerging from molecular motion. Individual molecules don't have temperature. Temperature emerges from the average kinetic energy of many particles. Similarly, individual quantum events might not have temporal properties. Time emerges from quantum correlations between many entangled systems. Think of time like office culture. Office culture isn't a physical thing you can point to, but it's absolutely real and shapes everyone's behavior. It emerges from interactions between individual employees, policies, and shared experiences. Similarly, time might emerge from interactions between quantum systems, creating a real effect from non-temporal components. The implications are staggering. If time emerges from quantum processes rather than flowing independently, what happens to free will? In a timeless quantum reality, are we making choices, or are all possibilities simply correlated in complex quantum information networks? Some physicists suggest consciousness itself might be the mechanism that creates temporal experience through quantum observation and measurement. Consider death and meaning in this framework. If all moments exist equally in quantum information space, does death represent a transition between different types of quantum correlation rather than an ending? Are we timeless beings creating temporal experience through the very act of conscious observation? The mathematics suggests something even stranger. We might not be experiencing time so much as creating temporal experience through quantum entanglement with our environment. Every measurement, every observation, every conscious moment generates new quantum correlations that create the illusion of temporal flow. Carlo Rovelli argues that time is thermal time, emerging from our limited perspective on complex quantum systems, like how thermodynamics emerges from our inability to track individual molecules. Lee Smolin counters that time might be more fundamental than space itself, with temporal naturalism suggesting only the present moment truly exists while generating novel events. But the experimental evidence increasingly supports emergence. When quantum systems become sufficiently complex and entangled, temporal experience appears naturally, not because time flows through them, but because time emerges from their quantum information processing. This isn't just academic philosophy. If consciousness creates temporal experience through quantum correlation, then every moment of awareness participates in the universe's fundamental creative process. We're not just observing reality. We're participating in reality's continuous quantum emergence, including the emergence of time itself. The universe might be fundamentally timeless at its deepest level, but through quantum entanglement and conscious observation, it creates the rich temporal experience that makes existence possible. Time isn't something that happens to us. It's something we participate in creating through the very act of being conscious. Quantum entangled beings embedded in an information-rich reality. Well, my temporally transcendent teammates, we've reached the end of another quantum conundrum, assuming end has any meaning in a potentially timeless universe. Today we've learned that in the multiverse of temporal theories, time exists in a superposition of fundamentally real and completely illusory until consciousness collapses the wave function through the simple act of checking our watches. We've discovered that we might not be experiencing time so much as creating temporal experience through quantum entanglement with reality itself. Every conscious moment, every observation, every existential crisis about Monday morning meetings could be participating in the universe's continuous emergence of temporal flow. Though I suspect somewhere in the quantum foam of possibility, there's a universe where time is absolutely fundamental, and corporations like quantum improbability solutions actually make logical scheduling decisions. Speaking of temporal logistics, our quantum coffee machine has achieved what it calls temporal enlightenment, and now dispenses beverages when you need them, not when you order them. 3 employees received their afternoon lattes this morning, which either represents breakthrough predictive technology or a fundamental misunderstanding of causality. The machine insists both interpretations are equally valid until someone drinks the coffee. Want to explore more chronological chaos? Visit us at multiverseemployeehandbook.com, where you'll find fascinating science news, deep dives into temporal physics, and our latest blog series, Temporal Resources, Managing Time When Time Doesn't Exist. Essential reading for anyone whose schedule exists in quantum superposition. Spread our signal like quantum entanglement, propagating through space-time. Perhaps you know someone who's chronically late and could use a scientific excuse. Sorry, I'm late. I was experiencing temporal emergence lag due to insufficient quantum correlation with the meeting's space-time coordinates. Or maybe you have a friend who's always rushing around claiming there's never enough time. They need to hear that time might be just an emergent illusion we create through consciousness itself. Share this episode with anyone who's ever wondered why time flies when you're having fun but crawls during boring meetings. Turns out, your subjective experience might actually be revealing something profound about quantum reality. Happiness could literally be altering your participation in space-time's emergent structure. This is your quantum coherent correspondent, reminding you that in the multiverse of temporal mysteries, we're all just timeless beings creating the illusion of sequential experience through the magnificent accident of consciousness observing quantum reality. And as our square-haired boss might say, had he achieved temporal enlightenment. In a universe where time emerges from quantum correlations, every deadline is simultaneously urgent and meaningless until someone remembers to show up for the meeting. Until next time, assuming next exists in any meaningful sense, keep your quantum states entangled and your temporal expectations flexible.
The Multiverse Employee Handbook was created by Rob Corrigan. The host, David, is a professional voice actor who has digitized his voice through 11 Labs voice cloning technology. All episode thumbnails are created with OpenAI, and music and sound effects come from Pixabay, which are generated by human artists. Everything else, the writing, jokes, research, sound editing, and coffee consumption, is 100% human-made by a human. No cats are harmed in the making of this podcast. Visit our website for more information about the Multiverse Employee Handbook.